Okay. So, hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. I am Sisto, and I am here to present you our work on a virtual reality serious game for musculoskeletal disorder prevention. This work is a collaboration between two universities, the Haute École Arc in Neuchâtel and the UTBM, Université Technique de Belfort-Montbéliard in France. It's an Interreg project, so we had the chance to work also with industries from Swiss industries and French industries. I will begin my speech by presenting you our problematic, the MSD prevention. Then I will speak about posture analysis, serious games, and with conclusion. First of all, what are MSDs? So quickly, because my colleague already talked about it, it's a lesion to a muscle, an articulation, or a tendon due to repetitive work in an inappropriate position. It is the most prevalent work-related disease in Western countries. The cost of work-related MSDs is rising and has many consequences. Some of them are lower quality of life, reduced productivity, wage compensation when people cannot work, and medical expenses. More than 80% of diagnosed occupational diseases are work-related musculoskeletal diseases in France, and it costs billions to Europe every year. MSDs have been known for years, and preventive action have already been taken through better workstation layout, to training courses. But the problem has not been solved. So our project is to propose a new approach combining already known MSD ergonomic knowledge and virtual reality to create a serious game. This is a multi-dimensional approach to help raise awareness about MSD and postural danger, and help workers develop coping strategies. Our goal is also to provide a tool to help ergonomists in their work, so that we don't want to replace them. We really want to provide a tool to complement their work into the industries. So our concept is the following. We use the Kinect and the leap motion to track the user posture during the game. The posture are analyzed in real time and assessed, and at the end of each level, a feedback is provided to the user. So for this project, we had to do motion capture. So the first movement capture we did was an industrial task measurement. So we went into the industries, put some we use the captive motion system to put sensors on the user and film them, and then with this data make a task and activity analysis and make an ergonomic assessment and find risky actions that are done we'll see dangerously by the user. And this action, we can use them to create the serious game in order to have a serious game tailored to our problematic. We also need to capture the movement of the user during the game, because we want to assess if he is doing the movement in a correct way. To do that, as I already told, we use Kinect for the body and leap motion for the hands. And we also use this data to animate a first-person avatar. Here you can see a user playing. You can see he doesn't have any thing in his hands, because we use the leap motion to try provide the most natural interaction we can to the user. So now about the serious game. This is our prototype serious game. The concept is the following. You have gears on a board, and you have to solve the puzzle. On the board, you have gears that are already placed. Beside the board, you have gears that have to be placed on the board, and your goal is to find the right gears that go in the right place. So here, obviously, what I have shown you, it's a really easy level. Maybe the really first levels we are going to present. And maybe you may wonder why we choose this game. And the answer is because it fitted 3 points that we really needed. It was scalability, because we are working with watchmaking and automobile industries that work with a really wide range of sizes. And we had to think of a game that could be adapted to both worlds. It has to be adaptable because we want to include as many risky actions as possible. And we also had to have a game that with modular difficulty, because if the game is too easy, we have too low cognitive load, the user is bored and we miss the point. But if the game is too hard, the user concentrates too much on the game and we forget the posture part. So, to resume, we use the risky actions to make the scenario of the game, and the user posture during the game to animate the avatar and to give a score to the user. The user feedback, so this is the first version of the user feedback we provided. The first one is body outline. So we have the outline of the body with the articulation and a risk assessment about this articulation. To provide this assessment, we use the articulation angles. We also give the ruler scoring, which is the posture, the global posture score, and the game score, which is basically the time score, because each level is timed. This is really important because, as we know in industry, each task is always timed. You cannot take all the time you want to complete your task. So the time component, it's really important. Even maybe if in the first level of the game, it's not. We don't want to include it, but to make a game complete for the industries, we need to take the time into account. So, what can we take home from this presentation? It's that we got a set of real risky action that we identified going into the industries that allow us specific intervention for the industries we are targeting. We have real-time musculoskeletal disorder risk assessment with natural VR interaction. And we did a serious game using the risky actions, and that allows more playful way to train the actions. So, the perspective of this project, which is not finished, we want a richer game. We want to add as many risky action as possible into the final game. Add more game tricks. I mean, enrich a bit the game, not just stay into the puzzle, add buttons, add animations to make the game more attractive. We want to provide a virtual coach, as my colleagues talked about earlier, to help the user, motivate him, but also give advice to the user, give corrections, but do not just provide a table with the correction and that's it. Really give a more personalized experience and really help people want to get better. We want to develop a serious game more specifically for the watchmaking industry, because right now our game is played while standing, and in the watchmaking most of the work is done sitting. So we want to do a game that allows people to be seated. And last but not least, we want to do an impact user test. So this is a long time perspective because it will be really difficult. It's a really challenge to test if really our game will have an impact. So it will be tested on. It cannot be tested in one session. To have an impact, we have to have several sessions and test on several months. So this is our ultimate goal, is to prove it works. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. First in the audience. Yes, there is one question.
Thanks for the presentation. I have one question about mapping of those risky action to the game. So, if I understood correctly, you analyze a task at the workstation, then maybe the worker could do a task in different way, and you want this worker to learn the good way of doing the task. Is that correct?
It's more like, I have a slide that I didn't put in it. It's more like we analyze the movements of the user, and because there is not the good movement. You cannot say this is the good way you do it. There is an infinity of movements, but we can say this movement you did here, it's dangerous. So it's more find the bits that they are doing that can be harmful for them, and then try to reproduce the same setting in order for the person to do the same kind of movement. So we can say, be aware, this, if you do it every day, it's harmful.
So you have developed a method to map a risky movement to the game, and while performing the game, this may happen, and you provide feedback?
Yeah, we have. This is the movement analysis that we did on site, and then we do with the Kinect another movement analysis. It's a real-time assessment. So, and we use ruler for this. So that uses the angles of the body. I can show you, and compute a score. And this, if we know if the score is too low, that it can be dangerous.
Okay.
Ruler is a method that says that this is worse than this.
I have a second question. In some illustration, you've shown a full body avatar. Is that displayed to the user, or is that just for the presentation?
It's a first-person avatar, so I showed it to you. Not in full, so you can see it, but the user sees his body in first person. So if I find the slide you are speaking about, it's this one, I think. Yeah. So the user, if he's like that, he only sees his hands, but if he looks down, he can see his feet and his body.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one. You have? Sorry.
I'm going to ask, thank you very much, very interesting project, but I'm going to ask a slightly provocative question. What do you think is the plus-value, as we say in French, of doing this in virtual reality in comparison to giving video feedback and biofeedback directly at the workplace to the person, and basically coaching them directly at the workplace in quite a simple, with quite a simple feedback to kind of adapt their gestures, their postures, their behavior?
You mean with a real person that watch the user work, or with?
So maybe I'm a little bit, obviously I'm very naive to this area. It's not my expertise at all. But I guess what I was wondering was, could we do this analysis of posture and so on directly at the workplace, as you've done, but then actually implement the training directly at the workplace as well, kind of using video feedback, using the sort of feedback that we're using now, but directly at the workplace rather than in virtual reality. I'm just wondering what's the kind of added benefit of doing it in virtual reality?
It's a really interesting question. So first, putting people with sensors in the workplace for a long period of time, it's a bit complicated. Also, if we do it during the work time, it slows down the worker, so it's a bit more complicated to implement. But most of all, we lose the serious game part. It's not a game anymore. It's you work and we give you feedback. And it's not enjoyable. So we hope that doing it as a game, people do it after work or outside. They're not in the workplace. There is a dedicated area. They will want to come back and try to play and do a better score. And we want people to want to come back to the game and for this train more. Yeah, I don't know if it answered your question. Okay, thank you.
Yes, this is the playful part.
Okay, there's also another point of this project. It's about to be in front of a computer, and you can do it just by yourself. One of the biggest issues that ergonomists provide us was that the fact that people were a bit ashamed to do it with their colleagues and with another person. With this serious game, you can really do it even like at home if you have the materials, and the feedback will be just for yourself, and then you can make the progress that you want, and there's no judgment, and to be just in front of the computer, and also to live the thing, not just to see a movie about even yourself. If you see a movie of yourself, then it's decorrelated to yourself. It's not you. It's a was, which is not good for the member.
Thank you. I also see an issue, a paradoxal issue, when you say the rhythm, the time has a very great importance in the scoring. So the quicker you are, the best you score. And we know that stress and time issues are a factor of risk to MSD. So you should be very careful by communicating to the deciders, of the firms, because you have this role also to sensibilize them also, not only
I agree with
little
you.
workers.
And we are really we want the main score, the score that gives you the right to go to the next level is the postural score. This is the main score. If you do a great time but your posture is not good, then you cannot go to the next level. And for me, because now we don't really have the time component, but we want to add it more like an additional challenge in the highest level of the game. And maybe also if in the companies they see that every high level with a high time, nobody can do them right, then maybe it can also awake something.
It can be a tool also for that. Thank you very much, Maria.